Hi, first years. I hope you're doing well. So Monica G asked me to record a video about social movements. So that's what I'll be discussing today. So I'm just going to share my screen and we can get started. Okay, cool. So one second. So what are social movements? So these are groups that are bound by collective ideas and they require organization, leadership, and resources if they want to gain momentum. And they are formed primarily due to three reasons. The first one being mass society theory. People would only join social movements due to the sense of community that they felt from the meaninglessness of life on one's own, showing that people were skeptical of the reasons that others joined social movements. The second reason why they were formed is relative deprivation theory. This theory states that people who feel they are being deprived of something considered essential in their society, for example, money, rights, political voice, and status, will organize or join social movements dedicated to obtaining the things of which they feel deprived. Key examples are the US civil rights movement and the same sex marriage movement. And the last theory that explains why social movements are formed is the rational choice theory. Um, People look at the pros and cons of certain elements in their society and make a judgment as to what would suit them best. If this requires them to join a social movement, then this theory states that, like, so be it. And so you might be wondering how social movements is connected to interdependence or like the power sovereignty and international relations unit in general. And so as per the IB's definition of interdependence, the concept of interdependence most often refers to the mutual reliance between and among groups, organizations, geographic areas, and or states for access to resources that sustain living arrangements. Thus, we can see that social movements are clear-cut examples of the mutual reliance among groups, which ensures that every person who is a member of this movement is taking actions that support and actively work towards the aims of that certain movement. Social movements greatly vary in their purpose and overall aims, but largely we can see that the aims can be to ensure environmental change, technological innovation, and other factors which promote social change. Thus, we can see that social movements can be a method that tackle the global political challenges that we face, the GPCs that we face. Globalization has fueled the efficiency of social movements, which will be seen in the example of the case study of the Occupy movement that I'll be discussing. A particular GPC that was tackled in this movement was poverty, as the protesters from Mexico were focused on poverty and workers' rights. So now, the case study of the Occupy movement. When did it start? The details, and did it work? So it was started on 17th September 2011, and the reason for this progressive social political movement was to express opposition against economic inequality and to the perceived lack of democracy. Thus, its primary aim was to advance social and economic justice. And 1 month after it launched, 900 cities joined the movement, and 1,000 people went to Wall Street to express their outrage at corporate greed. Although each country joined for specific reasons, the overarching reason was the concern as to how large corporations control the world in such a way that it disproportionately affects the majority of people, thus deliberately initiating instability in the economy. The movement's popular slogan, "We are the 99%, demonstrated that these financial corporations only target and benefit the top 1% of income earners and disregard the large majority of people. So you then might be then you might be asking, did the social movements actually work? And so we can look at the responses of like prime ministers and presidents of different countries to see if the social movements actually worked or not. So in Canada, the finance minister, Jim Flaherty, expressed sympathy with the protests, stating that there is growing worry about a lack of opportunities for the younger generation, particularly in the United States, and it's up to governments to ensure youth are able to capitalize on their education and find good jobs. He later commented, "I can understand some legitimate frustration arising out of that." And in the United States, President Obama spoke in support of the movement, but also asked protesters not to demonize finance workers. There are many other responses from PMs and presidents from other countries, but in general, the responses were largely positive and at the very least garnered the attention of who the people in the social movements wanted the attention to be garnered. And the last thing we can also look at is levels of analysis. And so it's clear that social movements are generally target the global level of analysis because countries around the world participated in this movement as it was cross-border in nature. Indeed, it is because of globalization that social movements have been able to flourish as the world has become increasingly interconnected. In fact, a factor of globalization, improved communication, can be seen in the Occupy movement, as the movement began on Twitter with the hashtag Occupy Wall Street, thus allowing a broader sharing of ideas. So that is primarily it for social movements. If you guys have any questions or want to continue the discussion about social movements with me, please feel free to reach out and I'll be more than happy to discuss with you or like help you. Yeah.